Watcha. Um, right. Uh, the BBC is talking about bots on social media supporting Reform UK. Yes, there is a lot of bots there, or there's some people being paid to actually troll Conservative MPs. Facebook pages and post crap, or I mean, quite a few profiles. Not a lot's going on. And basically, you have somebody show up in Ben Bradley's thing, uh, Facebook page, and someone from Cornwall, oh no, it's not in the interest of Bassetlaw. They've never actually been to Bassetlaw, and they're saying, well, reform are a better idea. The objective of reform is actually to destroy the Conservative Party, because the more left wing policies we have in this country, the more traction the charlatan Nigel Farage has. So we understand that. But the BBC have got onto this, which is
your accounts influencing the general election, while allegations about inauthentic accounts distorting the social media conversations are popping up across the online world. The BBC's disinformation and social media correspondent
that's a woman apparently, it's not Joseph Goes, and disinformation correspondent. Gosh, they really ought to study themselves on this. Now, they've found out that there is some traction, and there are some people who are just fed up with everybody, and so they're voting for reform. But, well, they're just putting it down to social media bots, and yes, they do exist. And I'll go into that further later, actually, but apparently there's some serious about this.
Types of comments, though, like Martin. He told me he's just fed up with MPs and wants to vote reform. A spokesperson for Reform UK's
only could name one person. They're all few and far between. Most of them are bots. There you have it. But we'll, yeah, most of them actually are just bots. I mean, you can actually go look at their accounts and sort of like, well, a lot of them were only put up last week or a couple of weeks ago or something like that, and they're all infiltrating groups and stuff to actually come out with this. So we know it's actually happening. That is reality, but all of a sudden, the BBC considers reform dangerous. Well, I consider them dangerous, actually. I consider some of their policies to be akin to those of the Nazis. But why all of a sudden have they got upset? Now, the BBC, being a Labour supporting organisation, wanted the Conservative Party to lose votes. This is why virtually every week Nigel Farage was on Question Time. He was on there solely designed to take votes off the Conservatives. The BBC, being sort of like of that liberal kind of theories in the brain section of middle class society, didn't actually work out that Labour voters may actually go over as well. And basically, all of a sudden, there is a problem with this. They gave Nigel Farage plenty of airtime. They were constantly having him on there and constantly coming out with his pie in the sky ideas. And all of a sudden, they're kind of, this is dangerous. Well, they created the monster, but will they say anything? No. And the left and the far left constantly saying things are far right and fascist. When you actually call Reform UK policies out, yeah, right, you're just some loony lefty. And so nobody's taking any notice. So the left, the loony left, and the BBC have actually created this situation where we could end up with MPs in the House of Commons with particularly nasty right-wing views. Of course, they're all fine with MPs in the House of Commons with particularly nasty left-wing views, and we've had a few of them for ages, but we could end up with a whole load more. And basically, they've created this. Because of their constant calling stuff far right and giving airtime and a platform to Farage, who I believe is an absolute fraud, by the way. Yes, he was on the EU Fisheries Committee. Gosh, doesn't that bird sound like something, a guitar or something? Farage was on the EU Fisheries Committee, and he attended one meeting out of 42 while railing against EU fishing policy. He never attended 41 meetings, never got round to tabling an amendment to any of their policies, just railed against it. He is a fraud. Okay, that is him, right? But the BBC given them a platform, and now we have this situation. The BBC have created this, but they will not admit it. But because, well, they're just too nice, aren't they, to actually be so devious and that something nasty can happen. And it has. They created this situation. And the far left and the left constantly going far right and left wing, and the media in general, far right, left wing, you can't call anything out that is far right or left wing. Right, their manifesto, they're calling it their pledge to the people. It doesn't look like a pledge or a manifesto. It looks like a shopping list, actually, of stuff that you're not likely to be able to buy. Cutting, lowering the tax threshold so more low earners are out of it. Yeah, well, that's a good Conservative policy. But then we actually go and look at their policy for the NHS. I mean, they believe it needs reformed. Well, it can't be reformed. This is why the Conservatives haven't managed it in 14 years. They have basically had to be skirting around these these PFIs and managers with their 30-year-long contracts to actually do anything. This will continue anyway, but if Labour get in, they're going to do some more PFIs, so we're talking 60 years of decline of the NHS courtesy of Labour. That's what happened if Labour get in. And they say it needs reformed. Well, yes, but the trouble is we can't reform it. Then there is also the immigration tax, where they tax employers for employing immigrants. First of all, that's very close to actually painting Stars of David on business premises, like they did in 1930s Germany. But also, well, you can't actually call yourself a Conservative and do that, because if somebody actually advertises for work and the best people for the work are immigrants, you have to actually, and nobody else is suitable, well, you're going to get stung with tax. This is stifling free enterprise. Conservatives believe in free enterprise. Reform UK don't. They are not Conservatives. Okay, there's that. But the main crux of this video I'm doing is to say how upset the BBC are and how upset the left are. They've created this problem by constantly saying fascist and far right about things that aren't, and also the media giving the former city metal trader who realised he could make some money being an MEP. They've given him a platform to take votes off the Conservatives, and they've all of a sudden found out, oh dear, this is not good. Well, you own it. You lefties and you media, you bloody own it.